Inter Milan and FC Barcelona have just delivered one of the most electric, dramatic, and emotional ties we have ever witnessed. 210 minutes of football so chaotic, so relentless, and so absurd, it almost felt like UEFA scriptwriters outsourced their work to ChatGPT, chose the most insane result, and called it a day. 13 goals, 9 lead changes, and one final moment that transformed everything. This wasn't a tactical masterclass. It wasn't a slow-burning chess match. It was football in its rawest form. No control, no safety net, just two giants going blow for blow until one finally collapsed. This was a semi-final that defied logic, a two-legged war that felt like it would never end. And now with the dust settled, we're left with a simple question. Did we just witness the greatest Champions League tie of all time? We've seen legendary Champions League semi-finals before. Liverpool and Roma gave us 13 goals and a comeback that almost defied physics. Ajax vs Spurs delivered one of the most emotional turnarounds in football history. Chelsea-Barca in 09 was chaos, protest, and heartbreak rolled into one. But this one was a different animal. The lead changed 9 times. Inter went ahead, Barca hit back, then vice versa. Neither team ever had full control, because the second they looked like they did, it flipped. And that's what made it so different. Not just the goals, but the tension, the feeling that anything could happen next. And most of the time, it did. It was unpredictable, unstable, and completely unforgettable. It all started with one goal 30 seconds into the first leg. That's all it took for Inter to provide the first blow of this insane tie. Within 21 minutes, they had already doubled down and had Barca against the ropes in their own stadium. It was a result that ensured that this wasn't going to be the cautious, cagey semi-final we're used to seeing. It was going to be an epic war. Barcelona didn't hesitate to let Inter know they weren't going to go down without a fight. And before halftime, Lamine Yamal had already pulled one back with a solo goal that served as a final reminder that this 17-year-old kid is coming for everything. Not long after, Torres tied the game, and we were back to square one. But that was precisely where the signature pattern of this tie started forming, because Inter decided to break the script and score a third goal when it seemed like Barca was finally getting ready to deliver a final blow. The Blaugranas were stunned, but in a display of emotional control that we hadn't seen from them in years, they were able to compose themselves once more and tie the game up again through a rocket from Raphinha. By the final whistle, we had already seen 6 goals, 3 lead changes, and a catalog of strikes worthy of a top 10 compilation. After a first leg that felt more like a Christopher Nolan trilogy and less like a football match, the second leg arrived not as a continuation, but as a sequel with higher stakes, more chaos, and somehow even less control. From the first whistle, it was clear. Inter weren't playing for damage control. They came out aggressive on the counter-attack, stretched the pitch, and by the 55th minute, they were up 2-0 again. Barca were staring down a 2-goal deficit for the second time in the tie, and this time, it wasn't early. This was supposed to be the knockout blow, but like every other blow in this matchup, it didn't land clean, because within 13 minutes, Barca had pulled off another comeback. First through Eric Garcia, and then through a header from Dani Olmo. 2-2 on the night, 5-5 on aggregate. The tie was wide open again, and this time, it was Barcelona who looked like they had full control. Beyond the goals, Lamine Yamal was putting on an absolute show. The 17-year-old completed 14 successful dribbles, the most in a single Champions League match since Neymar vs Atalanta in 2020. He was unplayable, untouchable, and it looked like he was about to drag Barcelona to the final all by himself. But despite his impressive performance, it would be Raphinha who in the 87th minute would put Barcelona ahead for the first time across both legs. It was his 3rd goal contribution of the tie and his 21st of the campaign, equaling Cristiano Ronaldo's all-time Champions League record for most in a single season. With minutes ticking away, it looked like that was it. Barcelona had survived the chaos, absorbed every hit, and were finally walking into the final. Until they weren't, because 45 seconds later, it all unraveled again. A controversial tackle, a looping cross, and Francesco Acerbi, a 37-year-old with 0 European goals in his career, hammered home the equalizer that no one saw coming. It was the 6th time the score had shifted, the 9th time the tie had changed hands, and the clearest sign yet that neither team was ever really in control. 6-6 after 90 minutes, and we were in for a cinematic ending of biblical proportions. By now, both teams had been ahead, both had collapsed, and neither looked like they had anything left in the tank. But in the 99th minute, Inter struck again. Frattesi, who had barely been involved all night, arrived late into the box and placed the finish that would finally decide it. 7-6, the 9th and final lead change. Barcelona would still have one last shot.
Yamal set away. Yamal!
But Yann Sommer refused. A full-stretch fingertip save that defied physics and preserved the win. It was his 14th save of the tie, and it wasn't even his best save of the game. Behind him, Denzel Dumfries had quietly pieced together one of the most effective semi-final performances we've ever seen. 5 goal involvements from a wingback, something only Firmino and Del Piero had ever done. It was pure chaos in every way, but it was chaos that might just be worth a Champions League trophy. Because for Inter, this wasn't just survival. It was resilience, execution, and perfect timing. Now, they stand 1 win away from their 4th Champions League title in history. As for Barcelona, even in defeat, there's no shame. Only proof. Proof that this young core is already one of the best in Europe. That Raphinha is built for the big stage. That a 17-year-old named Lamine Yamal might just be the best player in the world. This performance wasn't a collapse. It was a classic. And no matter how it ended, it gave us one of the greatest two-legged battles in the history of this competition. What do you think? Was Inter versus Barcelona this season the craziest tie you've ever seen? Let us know in the comments, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more content just like this.